Do you have any nails left? Or is your method of frustration pulling out your hair? Whatever it is, you can stop now because the Sixers did, in fact, pull off the victory after leading by 17, knocking off the visiting Miami Heat on the second night of a back-to-back for them, or the second day since it was a day game, really. 98-91, Sixers win 2 in a row. They are 38-30 and back in the 6th seed. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers post-game show. Alongside Derek Bodner, I'm Devon Givens. Kyle Neubeck will join us live from the arena on this Monday. Brianna, always in studio with us right here. All of you in the chat, we'll get to it all. The super chats, the regular chats, we appreciate it all. Man, up 17 in the fourth quarter. Sixers looking like they're really about to run away with this one. But no, extended defense from Miami. Sixers can't handle ball pressure, rushed shots at bad spots. Turnovers in general by the 76ers allows the Miami Heat to come all the way back, Derek, to eventually take the lead. Has the Sixers sweating. All of this happening in the start of the fourth with Tyrese Maxey, who had another brilliant performance there tonight in South Philly. All of this, though, happening while he's on the floor. They did not seem like they can function, but in the end, they do come away with the 7-point victory. And as we always say, while it may not be pretty, as it wasn't in the end, they did get the much-needed win here before they go on the road. So they take this 2-game series at home, winning both games. Now they go on the road for 4. But before we get to that and preview the start of their West Coast trip, let's talk about tonight, man. This one was, we thought it was going to be, all right, Heat are going to make a run. That happens in the NBA.
Yep.
That happens in basketball at every level. Even with that, Derek, I didn't expect him to come all the way back and eventually take the lead.
No, and they came back quickly. Sixers were up like 14 pretty late there in the third quarter. All of a sudden, you blinked, and 4 minutes into the fourth quarter,
Yep.
that lead was gone. And two, I don't think Miami ever actually took the lead in the fourth quarter. I think
So
the Sixers.
it wasn't the lead. They just tied it.
I think they just tied it.
All right.
But the Sixers kept them at bay, but boy, did that lead evaporate quickly. And it was funny because through 3 quarters, I'm sitting here going, the story of the game right now, I think the Sixers at that point had doubled up the Heat in terms of turnovers, and Miami's zone was frustrating them at times. Miami's full court pressure was frustrating them at times, but because the Sixers defense was playing so well, because they were getting those defensive rebounds, because they were forcing those turnovers, they were able to get out in the break, get out in the early offense, and didn't really have to deal with Miami's zone all that much. You're not able to set the zone when you're having to match up in transition. And all of a sudden, that just went away. The Sixers were turning the ball over every trip down. Miami was the one taking advantage of that, and you went, oh no, they're going to blow this game.
Yep.
And look, we're sort of joking around with the 6th seed. Not really. They are in the 6th seed now. That is how the standings work. But it doesn't really matter when you have this many games left, and especially when you have this many games left without Joel Embiid. I don't think either of us necessarily expect them to be able to keep that unless Joel Embiid comes back quicker than we expect, or it's going to be tough for them to keep it for sure. Where they are right now doesn't matter. But what does matter is this was the last game before they headed out on that road trip. This was an important game with how tough the schedule is coming up, and they needed this win in a big way, especially once you learned before the game that Jimmy Butler wasn't going to be able to play.
Yep.
They needed to find a way to steal this one. For most of the third quarter, you thought, all right, this one's in the bag, and they were able to withstand the run and take control of it down the stretch. That was huge.
Yeah, they really needed, and they needed Tyrese Maxey in the end. They just, you know what they needed? Time on their side.
Yeah.
Because it was that's how bad it was, folks. You watched it, we watched it. We all were back here at the studio watching it. Time was on their side for this one because I got to tell you, man, with the momentum shifting the way that it did, this is probably, if not overtime, with some extended time, a Miami Heat win, and we're talking about something totally different here tonight. But they certainly needed it. Tyrese Maxey coming up big again in the end. He had a tough second quarter after having a brilliant first quarter with the way that he played. 17 points in the first quarter, 0 in the second, and really couldn't find his way. He came back in midway through the second quarter. Miami, though, certainly focused on keeping him away from all the good looks that he was getting in the first, not letting him get into any rhythm. But in the third and the fourth again, he did enough in the third in general, but certainly in the fourth quarter once he got back into the game to try to help out. They were extending that defense like we've talked about plenty of times without Joel Embiid. They're trying to take the ball out of his hands. That's not a mystery. That's not a surprise by these other teams and their defense and what they're trying to do. We know what the game plan is, and he has it going, so they're certainly going to do all that they can to keep the basketball out of Maxey's hands. But with him doing that in the fourth quarter, making that extra pass, not forcing anything. He did take a couple of shots against the shot clock. any space that he had, he was really taking that jumper or trying to get to the basket to get a floater or a runner or a layup in general. But the Miami Heat defense, again, was very, very good. Some length, some double teams, all of that. Others had to make plays. Big shot from Buddy Hield where he had a deep three-pointer where I'm like, yo, that was a bit much for Buddy Hield in that spot, but he drained it. He also had a runner that he needed off the glass to get a layup to go. And the same thing for Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre made a great pass. Kyle Lowry hit a big shot there at the end for the three-pointer to break a tie that they needed desperately. And that was a deep one for Kyle Lowry. Yep. They made some plays. The team made some plays around Tyrese Maxey in the end to make sure that they locked this one in, secured this one to, again, win their second consecutive game and go to 38-30. But as far as Maxey, though, I figured we would start with him, too. Again, 17 right out of the chute, man. Yeah. And he did whatever he wanted against that defense. There was nothing that they could. When he got that first baseline jumper, I'm like, oh, okay. Seen it before. Over some long arms there of the defense, outstretched hands of that defensive player. He comes back a little bit later, does it again. I'm like, oh, he's in his bag tonight. Yep. He's going to have a good one here. And he did, starting off, getting things right out of the gate, Derek, 17 for Tyrese Maxey.
He had 11 within the first, 5 or 6 minutes. It was real quick. Look, he's really good at basketball. And it really is just astounding watching him develop the way he has. Like we've mentioned before, he's gotten so much better at just changing speeds, not everything being 100 miles an hour, using the sort of angles that he gets because of his shot to get into the paint. Using the English and touch around the rim is incredible. One of the best in the business at it. And the deep three, which he had going along tonight as well, and the passing. It was one of the more complete games that he has had during this stretch without Joel Embiid. And that's even with those, like you mentioned, those second quarter struggles where it looked like he was befuddled a little bit by what Miami was throwing at him. That is still, even with Jimmy Butler out of the lineup, that is still a really good defensive squad that Miami has. I think they are 8th or 9th in the league defensively on the season. They have been able to maintain some of that without Jimmy Butler. Where they really hurt without Jimmy is on the offensive side. And he found ways to be effective. It was look, and I think there's this, one of the stories of this game is how many other people stepped up with him, whether that was Kelly, both in the first half and down the stretch. Lowry was sensational down the stretch. Good. Yep. Even Mo Bamba, who we give a lot of grief for, and he certainly had his miscues there down the stretch, that turnover off the offensive rebound being key. Yeah. But he had some big moments too. This was a really good team win, but certainly none of that matters if Tyrese Maxey doesn't go supernova there in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the game and give them a chance to stay in this.
No, he was brilliant. So again, first of all, Derek mentions the Mo Bamba piece. Mo Bamba hit a big three there to help put them up when they went on that 17-0 run in that third quarter, to really get things, to really separate themselves, to put themselves up 68-51. Mo Bamba had a big three there. He made one a little bit earlier. So those there had another alley-oop to start the third quarter.
Yep.
So
great pass from Kyle.
Yes. Yep. This is what we talk about.
That short roll that he had, that dump off to Kelly,
yeah.
I had no idea he had. And to be clear, if he throws that pass 10 times, I'm not sure he completes it another time, but boy, was that a doozy.
Yeah, it was, man. And that was him 5 years ago.
Yeah.
When he first got into the league, he showed things like that. You just want him to get back to that type of play. But in general, just looking at that first quarter and how things got going, you talked about Maxey having 11. He had 8 in the first 5 minutes, and then as soon as I wrote that down, boom. Right there, another one. He continues with another baseline fade for 2 to give him 2 right there. And he continues to attack the point of attack. He was continuing to attack the point of attack. And as you said, changing his speeds, not just going 100 miles per hour the entire time, going 100 miles per hour and then boom, stop it at right about 90 and still be able to make a decision of what he needs to do. And really, in that first quarter, he did a really good job with that change of direction, the shot attempts, the decisions that he was making there overall. He had 3 rebounds. He was attacking the glass to get those defensive rebounds to help them on the glass. As they had 6 in the first quarter, and he had 3, they had 10 in the first quarter. He had 3 of those in that first frame. So he was doing a little bit of everything and trying to get his team off to a really very good start in that 12 minutes that he played there. 6 for 9 from the floor, 2 for 3 from beyond, and made all 3 of his three free throw attempts. He was brilliant, setting the tone, making sure that as the team was playing well, he's shooting well. there for them. They shot 52% as a team in that first quarter to the Heat's 45%. And a lot of that, again, was just simply how much pressure he was putting on their defense, how they had to switch and put different players on him. Anybody that stepped in front of him, he didn't care who was in front of him. He felt like he had the advantage every single time against those defenders, whether it was Haywood Highsmith, whether it was Jaime Jaquez, who has shown himself to be a pretty good defender. And whenever he got Duncan Robinson on him in front of him, he wasted zero time of attacking that guy and getting right to the basket or the patented step back three-pointer that he made. Again, the Jaime Jaquez, he was the one that was defending Tyrese Maxey on those baseline jumpers, and he knew he had to get a high arcing shot over him and make sure that he pivot, turn, not travel to get it over that solid defender that even though he's a young player, he's already shown himself to be a solid defender. So Tyrese Maxey's setting his tone as we talk about. He tried to get, like he does, get everybody else going, but it was clear that he had a major advantage against their defensive players, and he just went right at him.
Yeah. Yep.
Went right at him.
Really good.
Yeah, he was really good. So with that, as we talk about that and look at how he went about it with those first 12, everyone else started to get involved. Again, ball swinging, defense overextending to try to stop Tyrese Maxey, ball swings the other way. Mo Bamba, he gets a three. Kelly Oubre being very, very aggressive. He's attacking the basket, getting his help early there on as well. And they're just finding different ways to get everybody else involved in that first quarter where while the assists weren't very high from the starters, you still did have 4 assists coming off the bench with Cam Payne, 1 each from Buddy Hield and Paul Reed, where the ball was moving, and they had 6 assists on their 12 made baskets. Certainly Maxey doing the individual stuff, as you said, going supernova, but the ball was swinging because a lot of that was dictated by what he was able to do. Did you see anything different from how they were moving, what they were seeing against the defense based on how much he was doing and how they had to attack in a different way with some of that single coverage that they had?
Yeah, I mean, certainly in the second half when Miami was playing a lot of zone, I thought, first of all, I thought Batum, he didn't do a lot on the stat sheet, but I thought he was the one who was really, when he was put at the center of that zone and asked to pick it apart, he was the one who was really making the crisp passes, the quick reads. I thought he was really good. And really, like I said earlier, I think just getting out into early offense was huge for them in this game. If they were, confined to a really slow tempo, slow-paced game and had to pick apart that Miami defense for the full 24 minutes of the second half, I think this could have been a different outcome. But because they were able to get those stops, because they were able to, defensively at the rim, I thought they were actually really good. And that's another area where Mo was good. And Paul Reed had his moments too. Mm-hmm. Miami shot 14 for 33 at the rim. Like, they should be shooting 65, 70%. They shot well under 50% at the rim because they weren't able to convert, like I said. That led to a lot of not just transition points, but early offense type stuff, unset defense, Miami not able to get in the zone like they wanted to. I think that was pretty big too. And to your point, when Maxey is making those deep threes, it just opens up everything behind that. And I think the Sixers, more often than not tonight, and more often than they do on some nights, were able to take advantage of that space, take advantage of the advantage created by Tyrese Maxey, and just play in 4-on-3 more effectively than they have at various points.
Yeah, and I know we talked about it, and we spoke about it in the win that they had the other day, but when he's doing this, when he's playing this way, this is what, the 20th 30-point game for someone who is, 23 and under in Sixers franchise history. That's one of the best streaks that they've had for a 23 or under player to have 20 30-point games in a season. He was two rebounds shy of a triple-double. Again, I talked about the 3 boards in the first quarter. He was attacking the glass, man. He was getting in there, helping them out. And when you talked about that defensive rebounding advantage that they had, or the rebounding advantage in general that Miami had over the Sixers, those rebounds were needed by Tyrese Maxey, and he just played a really overall good basketball game. Miami was playing on the second of the back-to-back, as we said a little bit earlier. They played a day game against the Pistons. They needed a Bam Adebayo three-pointer at the buzzer in regulation to win that game and escape Detroit with a loss. Would have been good for the Sixers, but did not happen. And tonight, though, the Sixers handled their business. And that's where I was surprised that Miami had enough in their tank. They don't quit. Yeah. But I was surprised they had enough in the tank to come back the way that they did.
Especially since they played yesterday at Detroit. Now, granted, it was yesterday afternoon, but it's still a back-to-back.
Sure.
Miami, led by they were just really, I mean, their defense really picked up down the stretch. They erased that very, very quickly. Martin was incredible for them everywhere on the court. You expect that from Miami.
He was incredible in the second half.
Yeah.
First half, it was brutal, and that's why he got that T.
But you do expect that from Miami. Like, even when they were down 14 or whatever it was, I forget what the exact high water point was.
17, okay. You
expect them to make a run. You expect them to pick up their defense. You know that their defense is the only way they really ignite that offense, especially with Jimmy out. And the Sixers withstood it. I give them a lot of credit for what they were able to do down the stretch. I was not 100% convinced they were going to hold on to this one.
No.
It was a real good win. It really was.
It really was. So we'll talk a lot about everyone else and kind of highlight them specifically. We'll get to Kyle a little bit later. Coming from the arena, a nationally televised game by the Sixers again. They win over Miami. Final score 98-91, 38-30. First win against Miami this season, Derek.
They have, one more left?
One more left. So 3 tries already. They dropped 2. First one over Miami this season. We'll talk about everyone else. Kelly Oubre, another strong game. We'll talk about him when we get back.
Yeah. First, we want to tell you about a new sponsor of this show, BetterHelp. And this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's the first thing you would do if you had an extra hour in your day? A lot of us spend our lives wishing we had more time. The question is, time for what? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and make it a priority. Therapy can help you find what matters to you so you can do more of it. Look, I'm sure everyone listening to the show has everything under control, and I truthfully hope that's true. But for a lot of us, there's going to come a point where we don't. That may be something big and life-changing, or that may be something seemingly mundane, like learning how to prioritize your goals or reacting to uncertainty in your life. All I'm saying is, if you feel like you've hit that moment in your life, consider asking for help from a trained professional to help you navigate that. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/PHLY Sixers today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PHLY Sixers.
And this episode is also brought to you by the Spring Cleaning Champions. That's correct. You heard me right. Our good friends from Manscaped. This season, make sure to groom your carpets and drapes with the leaders in the below-the-waist grooming. They take care of you all the time. You want to take care of your place with this spring cleaning. You also want to take care of your place with Manscaped. Clear out the winter bush with Manscaped Lawnmowers 5.0 and watch your confidence bloom the springtime flowers. Embrace the season and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the special offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code PHLY for $20 off. Plus, always love this, free shipping. Yes, so you get 20% off plus the free shipping. And after using Manscaped, I can finally say that I've caught the spring fever. Although a little chilly today, was still beautiful outside, and the weather has been great over the last few days. Still has some decent weather over these next few days. But if you're going for a workout, you're going for a run along the drive, somewhere along the water, and you want to make sure you have your compression shorts on, your shorts, your sweats, whatever it is, and you know you're going to sweat a little bit, but you still want to be very comfortable. You want to be able to move with ease, no restrictions. Their 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next skin safe blade heads, a standard for taking a little bit off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. Also features 2 dual LED spotlights to guide you through the darkest winter. To breeze, navigate with confidence, of course, in your delicate areas. You want to make sure you're seeing every area apart, no nicks, anything like that. You don't want to have any of those ingrown hairs, grooming accidents. You want to make sure that you're in a good place right there. So I love this thing because it comes with the compact case. I take it with me everywhere I go, whenever I'm on the road. If we're traveling, I have it with me because, hey, I want to be clean. Spring cleaning doesn't just apply to the nether regions. Also get the full grooming experience with Manscaped's signature Beard Hedger Pro Kit plus Handyman Electric Face Shaver. I'm clean right now. Although I have a haircut and they make sure I'm clean here, I did everything else with the great Beard Hedger Pro Kit Plus Handyman. Whether you're looking to craft your signature look or clean up that neckline, these are always the right tools for the job. Once again, get 20% off and free shipping with the code PHLY at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code PHLY at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning in your pants. All right, let's go back to the game right now. Kelly Oubre, 22 points there in another starting role. He was 10 for 19, and he was 2 for 6 from beyond. Led the team with rebounds and 11. A surprising stat, 5 block shots for Kelly Oubre. Very aggressive on the defensive end. I thought he made some questionable decisions there in the first half and in the second half where he was trying to break the press and just going through everybody like a running back with 3 defenders just trying to get through them and not pass the basketball.
He had the one where he just completely lost the handle, picked it back up, got the layup anyway. Worked out, but it wasn't exactly how you would draw it up.
It wasn't perfect, yes, but that's the experience of Kelly Oubre. You get 38 minutes and 34 seconds of that. 22 and 11, Derek. 5 block shots, 3 assists. We're going to pick at a couple of things, but he was really good tonight.
No, I think this was one of his better games of the season. And a big part of that, not just the 22 points that he dropped in, but the way he was able to contribute in many different areas. He also had a really nice dump off or a kick out pass to Maxey in the corner. And that's not something we often see or say about Kelly Oubre. But I think that was key, getting Tyrese open threes when he is a pretty much one of the best catch-and-shoot three-point players in the league is tough to do without Embiid, and for him to make that read and make that kick out was big. But defensively, it was just one of his more complete games of the season. From the defensive rebounding to pursuing blocks to pressuring on the perimeter. I thought the Sixers down the stretch did a real good job of pressuring on the perimeter and getting Miami to waste time on the shot clock, and Kelly was a big part of that. Kelly and Tyrese Maxey were a big part of that. 2 players who you don't always get a chance to say that about. Like I said in the last show, or the last post-game show, this felt like early season Kelly Oubre.
Yes,
He was cutting off ball again. He was a monster defensively. He was pursuing on the glass. He was pursuing, chasing blocks inside. This is the kind of Kelly Oubre when he takes a bad shot or when he goes right and he has no right hand or things like that drive me nuts when he's not playing defense or not cutting off ball. I will overlook all of that now because what he is giving you defensively is very, very crucial for this team who just don't have very many players who are above 6'2". They need a playable wing. They need a wing who can stay on the floor and a wing who can compete defensively and really give you something. He has done that the last 2 games, and I would love to, I think some people like, I know we got a super chat in here about this, always want to point out your early season takes or your criticism before. I would love to be wrong because I enjoy watching good basketball more than I enjoy watching bad basketball. I would like this team to win because it's more fun to talk about. I'd love for him to keep doing this. I really would.
Yeah, we would want to be talking about a 58-win team. And if we're talking about a 58-win team and he's still a part of it, that means he's doing something out there. And again, the 11 rebounds, you just saw it again, just attacking the glass, something that he was doing. Those block shots were really good. And those extra passes, as Derek talked about, that one to Maxey during that 17-0 run in the third quarter, that was the one that Maxey hit in the corner. This was off of a really good Maxey steal. But Kelly Oubre, again, we were already talking about some of his aggressive attacking style where he felt like he could just split 3 defenders. But in this case, he made the right basketball play to find Tyrese Maxey, rewarding him in the corner after running full court, circling around to run the baseline to get to the other side of the corner to balance and space the floor out for him to hit him in the corner for that 3-pointer. That was a really good decision. He had another one where a play happened where a good pass to someone else to finish in the inside, and it's escaping me who that player was, but another really good pass on the interior to help them out. He also had a nice pass to Nick Batum, I thought, in the middle of that zone late. Nick Batum, the one moment that I will point out something bad about Nick Batum tonight was I thought he rushed his jump shot instead of taking maybe a step in to the free throw line to get a better look at the basket. It was like 19 feet where he probably could have gone in there and maybe made a 15-foot jumper from the free throw line.
There was a great stat by Daniel Ollinger. He pointed out, with Embiid on the floor, Nick Batum was shooting like 47% from 3. And I'm going off the top of my head, so this might not be exact. But with Embiid on the floor, Batum was shooting like 47% from 3. With him off the floor, he's shooting about 32%. And obviously some of that comes down to the fact that he was just hot earlier in the season. Some of that comes down to the fact that he is just missing shots now that he will normally make. He has had some open looks for sure. When you talk about a 15% swing, some of that just comes down to luck. But some of that, I don't know if that's 3% or 5% or 6% of that difference, comes down from the fact that he has fewer shots where he has time to take his time, set his feet, and go into his full motion, and he's taking a lot of those no-dip threes. He is another player. Like, I love the decision-making. I think he's a little overtaxed right now defensively. Like, he's been put on a primary scorer on the perimeter a little bit too much. That comes down to the team construct. But he's another one that when Embiid comes back, you hope that he will give you more and more and be a more reliable, more consistent part of the rotation. And to your point, that three, that, yeah, it would be great if he would just have a few more open, uncontested shots.
A lot of rushed. Not necessarily rushed because he's so adept to being able to make that shot by still catching it high in shot rhythm and just go for it. And the only other player that I can really think about it really is
Clay. Used to do
Clay
it a lot.
is the one that is the only one that I think can do that really well and still shoot a very high percentage in doing so. But the whole point of it was that pass that Oubre made, where he was making those right decisions. And although his assist numbers were only at 3, I thought
look, 3 for Kelly is a big assist night.
I thought he did a pretty good job of passing the basketball.
And I think it was reflected in his ball movement. It's like sometimes you get assists and you get like cheap dribble handoff assists, or you make a pass and somebody makes a great shot, something like that. No, I thought he was moving the ball pretty well.
Yeah. Who hit him for that pass down low when he got that two-handed dunk and he swung on the rim a little bit? In the was it Campaign? Campaign had a few good passes.
Campaign had a good pass.
Yeah,
in
a couple
the first
good
half.
passes.
Yeah.
But again, it's just we haven't seen someone like him with athleticism like that since probably Ben Simmons, to be perfectly honest with you. So to continue to have him play at this level, play that very well, although they're a little sporadic of when he gives you this complete game where Nick Nurse can leave him out there and you're like, there's no problem. You don't have to take Kelly off the floor. He played 38-plus minutes there with 22, 11, and 5 blocks. You don't have to take him off the floor there. He was really, really good. And I have to ask this because we saw Tobias Harris, again, ankle soreness, missing the game once again. Mm-hmm. We didn't talk much about it in the last game, winning that game, but against Charlotte on Saturday. But for this one, the ball movement again, 23 assists on 37 made baskets. A lot of time, yes, Oubre, Maxey, a lot of one-on-one stuff because they had the advantage against the defender. So it was right for them to do what they did, finishing the way that they did by taking their defender off the dribble. Are you seeing more or just less ball stopping now that Tobias Harris has been out for these 2 games? I'm not trying to knock him. It's just more of...
No, I mean, look...
The same way we talk about it with Embiid. Okay, the ball is moving a little bit more. You want the ball to swing. The same thing is happening with Harris. When he comes back, maybe we'll see a little bit... Maybe we'll see this continue more because they're seeing this on film, the coaching staff. They're sharing this once he comes back. Hey, the ball has to continue snapping the way that it has been while he was out.
Yeah, look, no, I don't think Tobias Harris is going to come back and be a quick ball mover, in part because he just doesn't make quick decisions, even if it's not like a desire to ISO and jab step. It's just who he is. It's how he's wired. It's how he's played the game. It's what his instincts are. But also, I think in order for Tobias Harris to try to get going, he's going to try to isolate and post up and take those meandering, slow dribbles into a pull-up. It's just who he is, and whether or not... And look, the game's like, they beat Charlotte the previous game. They beat Charlotte with Tobias too. They beat a Miami Heat team without Jimmy Butler, where the Sixers average, what was their half court... Hold on. Sixers averaged 89.4 points per 100 plays in a half court, which is in the bottom 25 percentile of games. It's not like this was a great offensive performance, even with the heroics of Tyrese Maxey early. So I don't think he's going to look at this and, scoring 98 points against the Miami Heat and being like, I've got to reevaluate my career. No, I think that was probably a little bit expecting a little bit too much. But what I would like is on nights where he doesn't have it, Nick Nurse to be like, all right, maybe we can win with another style. Maybe we don't have to hope that Tobias Harris is going to have a great game. Maybe we don't have to give him so many opportunities to get himself out of a rut, because that does lead to, look, he is a ball stopper. That's always been the case when he was scoring 20 With the Clippers back in the day when he's going well, he is a ball stopper. You just put up with it a little bit more because he converts more of them. When he's going poorly and a ball stopper, it's freaking frustrating as hell because not only is he not producing, not only is he missing shots, but more often than not, he's just wasting time on the shot clock. And that it doesn't even show up in the missed shots or the field goal percentage. It shows up in the 1 for 5, but you can't do anything the rest of the possession because he's throwing you a ticking time bomb. Yeah, I'd love to sit here and say he watched this tonight and he's going to change how he plays, but probably not.
The problem is when you have Embiid, who a lot of people do call a ball stopper.
He is, sure.
Right? Yeah.
It's just he's the best scorer in the league, so
Correct.
you put up with it.
Yeah. So when you do have this one here where Tobias Harris is also a ball stopper in a sense, but he's also going out there some 1 for 6. Maybe he'll have the good one where he'll give you 6 for 12 and get you double-digit points, and maybe even the same when it comes to the rebounding numbers. He's sitting there, he's seeing this. It's not just him seeing it. It's more the coaching staff pounding this in his head. Yo, you saw when you were out. This is what was happening. The ball comes to you, you're going to get good looks, and you're going to have a one-on-one matchup, and you might have someone who's basically on his heels, trying to close out against you, where you can either shoot that three-pointer or put the ball on the floor, get to the paint, and try to score in that way. And that's why I was had to ask it, because I know it's the Hornets and the Heat on the second night of a back-to-back with no Hero and Butler, and Duncan Robinson missed the second half with a back spasm, I think it was. The whole point of it is the ball is moving with him off the floor.
No, and look, like when we call Embiid a ball stopper, it's not used as a pejorative. It's he is the best scorer in basketball right now who draws a lot of attention, and because of that, he creates a lot of open shots for his teammates. Clearly, him having the ball and trying to score and trying to create both for himself and others is good for the team and good basketball. With Tobias, nowhere near that. But like I just said, am I expecting him to change? No. It's like I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and be a natural behind the mic.
Right.
Like, you just got to deal with the personnel that you have. For Tobias' case, that means play him less minutes.
Yep. All right. Well, one guy who played big minutes again, and we were like, he's playing too many minutes. He's going to have these bad days. Played big minutes again, 35 minutes for Kyle Lowry. Tremendous performance. We'll talk about him when we get back, because you know what? He might want to have one of these that Derek is going to tell you about right now.
From your day-to-day annoyances to the big stuff, like fretting whether or not your team is going to avoid the play-in. That is a big one, by the way. If they can just avoid, avoiding the 9th and 10, that's a big one. But avoiding the 7 and 8, that would be great too.
Yes.
It's easy to get worked up and caught up in day-to-day life. But there is a chiller way, a better way to approach those day-to-day problems. Get an ice-cold Coors Light, and with Coors Light, you know you're getting an ice-cold beer when the mountains turn blue and those bottles and cans. I've mentioned a couple times, it's starting to get real nice outside. And there's almost nothing more that I love doing, just going up, seeing the family on a weekend, sitting by the pool in a chair with a cold beverage. It really does do a lot. I thought you were going to pull up a Coors.
Well,
jeez.
you can do that too.
Didn't mean to do that. That was an accidental ding.
Coors Light people.
Can't have accidental dings. There's very few things I like more than pulling up, sitting next to family, having an ice-cold beverage, and washing away a week's worth of stress. If I'm going to do that, that's going to be with a Coors Light. With Coors Light, you can only get cold layered, cold filtered, cold packaged beer for a smooth finish. Mountain cold refreshment. When you choose to rise above it all, choose chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Sixers fans, they travel very, very well on the road. And when you look at the television, or maybe you're in the arena yourself as you travel to watch your favorite basketball team from Philadelphia, Sacramento, 2 Los Angeles games. First up will be Phoenix on Wednesday. Maybe you want to go see your favorite team play in your town. And that is, I'll tell you how you can get some really good tickets, great views, all of that. Great people from Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful at all. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy all tickets for all sports, music, comedy, theater, and more. And again, if you're wanting to see your favorite basketball team out west, Phoenix, 2 Los Angeles games, or Sacramento, Game Time has killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for all the fun that you'll have, whether it is Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, or early next week against Sacramento. Somehow, some way, you got to be in the building. Well, flash deals on last-minute tickets through Game Time. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. If you don't necessarily want to see basketball, your favorite baseball team is about to take the field there soon. Game Time is the place for you to go. Great images for your seat views to see exactly where you're sitting so you're not having obstructed views. You want to see the entire field of your new. Everybody's 0-0, and they all are going to win the championship in the end. Well, Philadelphia certainly has a real good chance of that. You want to make sure you have great views to see your team, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. So even if you're saying, you know what, I got to work on Friday and I think it's going to be late, I do want to see Philadelphia in Los Angeles, don't think I'll be able to go though. Well, guess what? Right up to the minute tickets, exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, baseball, basketball, concerts, comedy, theater, hockey, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price guarantee. And if you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app like I have done. Create an account. Use code PHLY for $20 off your purchase. Yes, $20 off. You can always use $20 off. You can use that maybe in the building for the concession stand or some gear. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed. All right.
I think we did have one super chat, right?
We had two.
There we go.
Or you already mentioned the one.
We mentioned the one, but we should give him a shout out.
Real Time.
Real Time's going to give us a couple
Kelly
bucks.
Oubre.
Yeah.
Yeah, the allegations are unsubstantiated. He's had a good game, Real Time. He had a real good game. Look, when he plays that way, man, that's exactly what and look, as fans, we were fans too before we got into the business. Certainly still are fans of the sport. Other sports that we watch and like to see the Phillies and the Eagles.
Man.
Everybody win.
Every time somebody's been like, "Hey, would you mind covering a Phillies game?" No, I need one team I can be irrational and angry and frustrated about, and gosh darn it. No.
Yes, but look, you get into as a fan because you like to see wins.
Yes,
you like to see players playing at the highest level. When they show you that they play this level, you know what you want to see it. Consistency from that player. Now, while Kelly Oubre is a little up and down when we go stock up, stock down, the type of level of play that he has there, we're certainly looking at something there with this guy that we're talking about. Hey, we would like to see him play more like this. It may not be 22-11 and 5 blocks, but it's certainly 16, 17 a night like we've seen him do. Not the 20 on average, but just a more complete game where you're not pulling your hair out.
Yeah.
That's all.
I don't have all that much left. I can't be pulling it out.
There's no hate.
Yeah.
There's no hate.
No, honestly, Kelly seems like a great guy.
Yeah.
Any of my criticisms have nothing to do with Kelly the person. It's Kelly the decision making. And when I criticize him, it's almost never because never because shots didn't go in. It's because there's shots that he took, the decisions that he made, the passes he passed up, and the effort on defense. It's almost always that. Yeah. And if he keeps playing like this, great.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. We have one more super chat that we have to get to.
I think we have two more. One came in while you were talking. Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. Devon, a.k.a. Schoolboy Beats, says campaign time on the court was brutal today.
He had a good 3 early. He had a nice pass or 2 early.
Yes, he did.
Didn't do a whole lot in the second half. But
the fourth quarter turnovers, as the Heat came back and cut into that lead, he was on the floor when those turnovers were happening. Yeah. And that part was not good. You're absolutely right.
No, look, he's going to have up and down games. Especially when his offense is very reliant on slightly risky passes and deep threes, and those are going to be very volatile. He had a good game the other day. He had a down game today.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Yep.
It's fair.
Yep. We'll see what he does against his former team, Phoenix, on Wednesday.
Yep.
When the first game of the 4-game road trip. And one more super chat from what is it? How do you? I don't want to pronounce it wrong. Yeah, Pedro. Let's just go with Pedro.
You're just going with the second name because you don't want to try the first one?
We're going with Pedro. We're going with Pedro. He's been here before, and we love it. Perfect way to leave for the road trip. Go Sixers. Yes, appreciate it, Pedro. 2 in a row, man. We talked about maybe splitting these, but if you can get 2, that would be fantastic. They got the 2. So, Pedro, you're absolutely right. And right now, as Derek talked about, they're in the 6th seed currently, and with them being in the 6th seed, They break a tie with Indiana, and they have a full game up on Miami.
Yep.
Indiana tonight Sixers got some help from Cleveland, defeating Indiana on the road 108-103. Again, it would have been great for Miami to lose to Detroit on Sunday, but the buzzer beater from Bam, you never know how that might have changed their approach for this game tonight. That being said, Sixers have a full game up right now on the Miami Heat, and they are 2 games back of the Magic, who hold down the 5th spot currently, and they are 2.5 games back of the New York Knicks, who are currently taking on the Golden State Warriors in Golden State.
Yeah,
leading by
like
7
I said,
early.
more important than the 6th seed is just that the schedule gets brutal coming up. Like I said, road, they play, 9 of their next 11 on the road. That includes Phoenix, the Lakers, 2 against the Clippers, the Kings, the Cavs, the Heat again. Like, this is a really tough stretch. And maybe by time, and that second Heat game is going to be huge because right now it's 1-2. This Heat have 2 wins in the 3 games, so you need to seal that 4th one to have a chance at the tiebreaker. Maybe that is on April 4th, so maybe there's a chance. Who knows? Joel Embiid could come back. This is a tough stretch coming up. And the Clippers are kind of staggering a little bit. Like, I think they've lost like 5 of 6. They're not playing like the best basketball they've played all year. But that's a very tough matchup for a team that can't defend the perimeter. You need to steal as many wins as you can right now, winning 2 in a row here at home before you head out on that trip. Huge.
Realistically, because you talked about the 8 and the 23 stretch, not the 28 overall, the final games of the season. Realistically here, not asking you to go back and count how many they've won of that 23 that you were projecting out to see. Once we came back from the All-Star break, you said maybe 8 to 10 possibly. Yeah. Maxey missing a couple of games hurt them with the concussion that he had. So if you looked at this right now, Derek, when you look at where they are right now, taking these 2.
This was 8.
This was 8?
This was 8.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
So over the next 11 that you talked about, especially with these tough games that they're going to have to play, March is going to be brutal no matter what for the second year in a row. What would satisfy you as you look at them and analyze what they're going up against here in terms of wins?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is when I made that projection, I think I was expecting a little less from the Pacers and the Heat. The Pacers right now have won 4 of the last 6, and I think they have won something like 11 of their last 16 or something like that. Like, they're playing better basketball than they were at the time. They're basically a 500 team before then.
Okay.
And Miami, too. Miami stumbled here over the last week or so. But before then, they were winning, like I said, I think somewhere in the 10 of their last 14, 10-4 range. So they were playing better basketball than anticipated. So because of that 8 to 10 win projection is going to come up short. They really probably need like 13 or 14 at a bare minimum. And that's going to be tough. And I think also part of that projection was we were not expecting, but maybe theorizing or projecting Embiid to come back in late March, whereas now feels like it might push into April, last couple games of the regular season. And because of that, those games after that 28-game stretch are going to be tougher without Embiid, so you need to pick a couple up to make up for what you were projecting to Embiid or win when Embiid comes back. So, yeah, I think they're, honestly, when I look at the stretch, they're probably doing better than I expected.
Really? Okay.
Well, like I said,
and look how much we've complained about.
Oh, it's been some really bad basketball.
Rightfully
yes.
so.
Yes.
But look how much we've complained about their performances and how they've dropped this one, dropped that one, individual players not playing well enough, yet they've maybe exceeded the expectation of that stretch. And you just hope now, first of all, first things first, the 4-game road trip. I've already looked at this, and I'll say it very clearly. At most, I think they win 1 game. At most on this. I expect them to get swept. Well, but this is the NBA. You can be surprised. You don't know what happens to the opponent. You don't know who they play the night before, maybe, if they're on the second night of a back-to-back. Even I haven't looked at it as of yet. But right now, I'm looking at that one. First things first, I hope they take 1 along this 4-game trip.
Yeah. And, well, that's part of it, too. Like, when you were looking at that 28 stretch, you were including these next 10 games are really tough. And there might only be 1 or 2 wins in here. So you might end up with 10 or 11 wins anyway. It might not be that much over.
Yeah.
But this stretch is very, very tough. Like, there are some, when you start coming, Yeah, there's not an easy game in this group. Like,
no, the Lakers
there
you can
are road
look at.
games against the Grizzlies and the Spurs at the very tail end of the stretch that are almost must-win games.
That we're looking at saying you better win those games.
The problem is that's a road back-to-back. So you're traveling from Memphis to San Antonio, not the
a
farthest
long trip.
Sure, but it's still a road back-to-back.
But it's a trip. You have to get on the plane.
It's not like they should be wins, but it's not the easiest win in the world. It is it's a really schedule makers did them dirty.
Yeah. Well, they also expected Embiid to be on the floor. That said, Kyle Lowry, he will be on the floor, we think, of course, for this 4-game trip. Phenomenal tonight, 35-plus minutes, 16 points, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 3 made threes on 5 attempts. We talk about getting shots up, right? A good rhythm. He got 5 up. He was 6 for 12 from the floor. But other things that didn't really show up on the stat sheet, Kyle Lowry is really good. And, man, did he make a big 3 there to break a tie in the fourth quarter.
And a deep 3, too.
Deep one, because Maxey, again, was double-teamed. They blitzed him. He got the ball out. He hoisted that 3. Nailed it.
And then he had a scoop layup there after a B-ball Paul offensive rebound. Just a huge, huge stretch from Lowry. And really, I thought where he started taking over the game, I don't want take over the game might be a little strong, but where he really started leaving an imprint on the game was defensively there in the fourth quarter. I thought he was getting after it. During that stretch where the Sixers were forcing turnovers, getting stops, and getting out in the break, I think he was a really big part of that. And just like his ball movement, his competency as a shooter, his knowledge as a defender, and the fact that he can play 35 minutes right now and not look as overmatched physically as I thought he could. We've said this probably a dozen times. He's definitely giving them way more than I expected when they signed him. And if he can do that, then just having his intelligence, having his shooting, having his steadiness has been real big. And he was incredibly huge down the stretch.
Once that 35 drops to 20-25 for the postseason, if and when Embiid comes back,
yep.
Very helpful.
And when he's just rather than trying to create, because when he looks bad, it's because he's trying to create too much off the dribble. That's not what he can do anymore. You don't want to really put him in pick and rolls. You don't want to have him create off the dribble. When he is just catching and shooting, or attacking gaps as a cutter, or attacking closeouts and making plays off of that, I think he is going to be a very good 15 to 20 minute per game player. The problem is you really need Embiid to come back, and in order to be a 15 to 20 minute per game player, it means your depth has to improve. The way your depth improves is by getting DeAnthony Melton back, which I'm sure we'll talk to Kyle in a minute here. But we got an update from Nick Nurse, we didn't, and it was pretty much that there is no update on DeAnthony Melton, which isn't a great update, non-update, because you would love for him to be able to find a way to get back on the court over these last couple of weeks. But if you're going to decrease Lowry's minutes, it would mean getting Melton back. It would mean getting Covington back, things like that. And it just doesn't seem like, at least for Melton, that is on the horizon.
If Melton does not return, based on, as you just said, you didn't expect this much from Kyle Lowry, the way that he has played. Embiid does come back. Melton doesn't, Embiid does. Do you look at whatever he can give you as some of that can be a positive for, or basically just filling up the production that you would think Melton would give you? And it doesn't mean the shooting necessarily. It's more of being that secondary ball handler, decision-making, things of that nature.
Yeah. No, I mean, he certainly does give you a little bit like Melton in terms of you really want to be a spot-up shooter and make good decisions. The problem is, and like Kyle, like I said, I think he's given you more defensively than I expected. He's still limited in terms of he's just not as versatile of a defender. He's not as good moving his feet. He's more exploitable, even if he might be a smarter defender, and certainly in terms of physicality, like he's strong, he's solid. He's just not, there's not the length that DeAnthony has. There's not the quickness on the perimeter DeAnthony has. They would be a better defensive team right now if you could play Kyle for, let's even say 25 minutes per night, and be able to play DeAnthony, his typical 25 to 30. Yeah. They just don't have it.
And that was the thinking, I'm sure, having those two together, coming, being out there on the floor sometimes, whether it was Hill starting or Melton starting, to have those two on the floor, either of them with Kyle Lowry was going to be very, very helpful. Yeah. Before we catch up with Kyle when Kyle's ready and talk a little bit more about the rest of the players in this big win, because I did want to ask you about that 17-0 run. I got to tell you also, folks, as we talked about the West Coast trip and the Clippers and the Lakers and the Suns and the Kings, we're going to be back on the road. We're going to be back on the road on Sunday for the 3:30 Clippers game, as we are back at the Chegg, the chicken or the egg in Marlton, New Jersey. Sunday. We got pregame? Pregame. Yes, pregame for a live broadcast as the Sixers take on James Harden and the Clippers for the first time this season. So if you're out and about, we've done these on weekdays. Thursday, trade deadline.
Yep.
And that's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yep. The Boston game was in the evening, but it was on a Tuesday night, nationally televised game, so a 7:30 start. And that one, we've got a weekend game, folks. And the Chicken or the Egg is a fantastic place. We've got some hot sauce from there. I have a bottle for my cousin at the house that I have to give to him and the family. And they have great food, great drinks. The bar is fantastic. The dining area is really cool. And our setup is right when you walk in. So as soon as you walk in the door, the greeters, they greet you at the door. We're right to your right, and we're across from the bar. Plenty of televisions surrounding the bar. It's a great, great venue, great place. The outdoor seating is fantastic. I don't know what the weather's going to be on Sunday, but we've talked about wanting to do a show from the outside because the setup there with the grass, the turf that they have, the seating, and again, the televisions out there is fantastic. So if you're in Marlton, if you're in the area on Sunday, please come out and see us. Come hang out. We've built the community that we have for all of you to hang out with this post-game, non-game days as well. We also want to do so when we're on the road. So 3:30, game time, James Harden, the Clippers, hosting the Sixers. We're at the Chegg, the Chicken or the Egg, on Sunday for the third time. It's been fantastic. The Flyers game, they were just there. Yeah. And it, by all accounts, again, a fantastic show.
And I will do the same thing I did last time. If you want to have a ludicrous wing, it's on me. We'll have it together. It'll suck. It'll be terrible. We will get through it. It'll be okay.
I don't curse on the air.
You do sometimes.
Sometimes. I was about to this time. I was like, yo, that sauce is hot as
sauce
shit.
Is hot. Yeah.
So,
we're allowed to say it. It's okay.
It's hot.
It's okay.
It is hot. Bree is here. Bree had it. We had it. Chris, our social media director, Chris had it. And Chris, being the social media and video coordinator that he is, he doctored the he doctored the video, folks. Yep. He didn't show the whole thing because that man, he took back 2 glasses of milk because it's so hot. So we'll try that with you again if need be on Sunday. The 17-0 run, what did you see from them? I thought it was a lot of defense leading the offense, getting out in the open floor in that third quarter that led to that 17-0 run that really turned the table again for them to extend the lead in a big way in that third frame to go up at the end of that third quarter. I think it was 60. Was it 60? Let me see real fast. I have it here in my notes. At the end of 3, it was 79-65. Sixers again go up 17-0 run, 68-51 run. 2 early timeouts, Miami. What did you see there?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it was a lot of defense leading the offense. The Sixers held Miami to, I think it was 16 points there in the third quarter. It tied their lowest point total for a season. And this is a Miami squad that plays at a pretty low pace or slow pace and is, I think, in the 20s in terms of offensive rating. So it's not like they score a ton of points as is. To hold them to their lowest of the season or tied for their lowest quarter of the season, I think they were really, really active defensively. And when you force turnovers, when you get stops, when you get rebounds and get out on the break, I think that is a big part of that. Not only defensively, but then getting your offense into rhythm. I just think they got a chance to attack an unset defense way more than they did down the stretch, especially in the first half of the fourth quarter, and more often than they did in the second quarter as well.
Yeah, so looking at the numbers, it was 28-16 in that third. And the Sixers were 11 for 20, but it was 11 for 20, shooting 55%, making 4 of your 7 attempts is fantastic. But they turned them over 5 times for 7 points going the other way. And they shot the ball well. They rebounded the ball. They didn't give, they gave up a few offensive rebounds, 5 to Miami. But that's what happens with the Sixers in general. But just them, that pace, getting out in the open floor, hitting those shots that they had. In general, they had 10 points in the paint, and they were 8-2 fast break points against Miami. And when you do that, you allow yourself to, again, generate some early offense, some better looks at the rim. We talked about the play where Kelly Oubre found Tyrese Maxey in the corner. Mo Bamba also helping out defensively there in that frame in the third quarter overall. He had 5 points in the block shot. Mo Bamba did, and also 2 assists. So when we talk about the poor play, he also helped ignite things by his defense and then capitalizing on the other end. The 2 on that lob to start the third quarter, and then that 3-pointer in that rhythm, in that run of 17-0, He played big in that series, in that run there too. And Tyrese Maxey, once again, playing 12 minutes was phenomenal, finished with 11 points. And that was coming off of a second quarter, Derek, where, again, Miami not necessarily figured Tyrese Maxey out, but they slowed him down from everything that he did. Maxey had 1 point, just 1 point on a made free throw. I believe that was a technical in that second quarter. Other than that, he was 0 for 4 in the 8+ minutes that he played because Miami changed things up defensively and he just couldn't get into a good rhythm. So what's important there is while they figured things out in the locker room, halftime, the coaching staff, the players, to figure out, all right, how do we get Tyrese Maxey going once again? How do we get him loose? Defense leading the offense also helps. He had a great defensive play where Oubre got the ball, found Maxey in the corner. You reward that, whether it's big, small, whoever it is in terms of the player, you reward good defense leading the offense, and that's exactly what he did. He had a block shot and a steal there in that third quarter. Those things can flip things very quickly. Sixers up, just by 2 points there, and then they bang. They turn it up, they get it going, and you got Maxey turning that dial up with that speed and flipping the script.
Now, we'll get back to this, but there's a very important question in the chat.
All right.
Martian Lynch wants to know whether or not your Google profile picture is a pair of loafers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there a story behind that? Anything
Nope.
you'd like?
It was the first thing I saw that was available. It was one of those stock. Hey, Martian, it was one of those stock photos, and I was like, "That's it right there. I'm stopping right there." And that's what you get. All right, and you might catch me in a
and with
pair
that,
of boat
let's
shoes.
go to Kyle checking in from the arena.
Yes, Kyle's going to have some boat shoes on very soon here as he goes on vacation and relaxing with some slides, some flip-flops, and some boat shoes as he's chilling. Joining us live, make sure you check his recap at the allphly.com. I don't know where he was in his writing as the game flipped in the fourth quarter, but you want to read the good, the bad, the ugly in the recap, allphly.com from Kyle Neubeck. Kyle, how much did you have to almost change in the fourth quarter because the game flipped on his head?
Well, one, I think there's only one loafer guy on the show, just to be clear. It's the guy who chose it as his avatar for whatever reason. So that's kind of the beauty of how I write these, right? I don't do like A to B to C to D type traditional recap, so I can plug and play and just stream of consciousness, the whole thing. But I will tell you, it was certainly chaotic, and it was really that opening 7 minutes or so of the fourth quarter. They did stabilize after that. That's why they were able to get a win. But it's just that sequence there encapsulates why, even without several of their best players, the Heat just scared the bejesus out of so many good teams because they're on life support the whole game. They can't score. They can't do this. And then Eric Spoelstra's like, oh, we're just going to throw some full court defense and pressure at you. And you're going to turn it over multiple times in a row and maybe get away with an 8-second violation and then turn it over again. And they just have such a reliable ability to junk up a game no matter who's on the floor. So to a certain extent, you just give Miami credit for that. I think under Spo, they have earned that. Certainly the Sixers made quite a few mistakes, but they were able to come away with the win, and that's probably what matters in the end.
What do you think has gotten into Kelly over the last couple of games? And I don't even just mean the points, but I mean defensively.
So we talked with him a little bit at his locker tonight and certainly asked about him with the other guys we spoke with. I think some of it is that they've had a fairly consistent group available for a while now. We talk about, they have so many guys injured, but they've had mostly the same guys injured, right? And so the rotation for the first time in a while has at least had some stability. And so he understands, okay, this is my role with this group, and he has synergy with different guys. I think even with the bench guys, I think him and Campaign now have hooked up quite a few times where they seem to have a good understanding between one another. The defense, I think, has been a team-wide thing, right? I think the rotations have been much better. I think Kyle Lowry has made a difference there. He constantly makes the low man rotation, and so then the next one comes, and it's once you set the standard at the beginning of a game, there's a trickle-down effect. Oubre also said something he gave the coaching staff credit for, specifically mentioned Kobe Carl, who previously was head of the Blue Coats, now on Nick Nurse's bench staff. that he's been big on him in terms of the passing reads. Like I think Kelly has gotten to a place where Nick Nurse and the rest of the staff are getting happier about how he's attacking and seeing other people. I thought there were a few notable examples tonight of him using the pressure that he creates and the guys collapsing on his drives to then find somebody on the perimeter and turning that into, even if he doesn't get the direct assist, he's the one who makes the most important part of that play, which is drawing the attention. And so, like, look, the scoring is great. They're getting that from him constantly. But when he defends like this, when he sees the floor and wants to see the floor and is receptive to the coaches saying, hey, look, we see this on film, and they hammer that, and he responds to it, that to me is more important than anything, because the book on him for so much of his career has been Kelly Oubre plays how Kelly Oubre plays, and you just have to take what you can get. Well, if you get the Kelly Oubre strengths, and then he adds on stuff because he's listening, that's great, and that makes him such a more dangerous player into the playoffs.
After getting off to a good start in the first quarter, Tyrese Maxey has 17 points there, just one in the second in 8+ minutes, and just couldn't really get things going. Give credit also to Miami's defense and how they changed things. We talk often about how good he is and how he adjusts, showing us different things from game to game. How much more can we say after, again, good start, bad second quarter, but comes back there in that third, figures them out once again?
Yeah, look, like, to me, one of the important storylines from that game is Tyrese killed from mid-range. Like, that's a shot that I think has been a bit of a pain point for him this year at times, where we've seen openings for him and he gets there and then he's taken fadeaways or it's a difficult angle. And I asked him about it after the game, and he said it's something his dad had been harping on him for a long time, that he's like, Dad, they just want me to shoot threes and layups, and that's what I got to focus on. And now that he's the lead guard, he sees more of that. So that's part of it. Another big piece of it is playing next to Kyle Lowry and being able to kind of divvy up responsibilities as the game rolls on, right? Where Tyrese can be an off-ball guy and be a catch-and-shoot player or attack closeouts. And then the next possession, Tyrese is calling for a ball screen and he's being a passer. Like, scored 30 points, but also had 10 assists tonight and also had 8 rebounds tonight. And I'm not saying that's the standard, right? If he could average 38 and 10, he'd be the MVP of the league. But for him to be able to impact the game in different ways, so like as he's dropping off as a scorer, he's becoming more of a playmaker. And I see Jay at the Jungle is pointing out in the chat that the defense has been a nice development, right? Like, it's been awesome to see him raise his level there. That's going to be really important in the playoffs, where I do think that Maxey has been a target at times against good teams in the past. And by at times, I mean quite often, especially against teams like Boston. And he's proven he can raise his level enough to bother guys now. So that part's really important too. It's just awesome to see him impacting the game in so many different ways, even if the scoring tails off.
Obviously, a couple key guys still out. What do you have about D'Anthony and Tobias and the upcoming trip?
So D'Anthony, there is no update from Nick Nurse. So I continue to be pessimistic on him, and not because of what we're hearing or not hearing, just because he's been out for so long and it's a back issue. I just don't know how you can have any confidence in him. Like, let's say he comes back the same time as Joel. How long can you trust him to stay healthy at this point? We haven't gotten a definitive positive update. Even when he came back to play, it was like a lot of, yeah, he's good enough, but then he has a funny landing and ends up back out of the lineup again. Tobias, it sounds like Nick Nurse was pretty optimistic, and as I've said on this show many times, that means almost nothing to me anymore because there've been a lot of moments of optimism before guys miss like 3 or 4 more games. He is going to travel on this West Coast trip, so that suggests he is likely to play at some point, but whether that means he plays Wednesday or is potentially back for the LA component, We shall see. Don't know that quite yet.
Let's assume that Melton does not come back, or at least if he does come back, it's not going to be consistent play because this thing can flare up at any point. But Embiid does, and he's back for the stretch run, maybe last week of the season and including into the playoffs. Seeing what you're seeing from Kyle Lowry, maybe the numbers drop a little bit, and even just the fact that he will have Embiid back on the floor, how much, if we're looking at a 15, 20, 25-minute a night player from Lowry, can make up for the absence, if that is the case for Melton?
So the concern I have if they don't get 100% Melton back, which I think we would probably all agree it's unrealistic to expect them to be 100% at any point this season, is that I don't think they have a ton of defensive versatility. I do think Kyle Lowry has shown the value that he has as a team defender, somebody who will get to a spot on time and set up subsequent rotations. And with the way the NBA is today, that can often be more important than man defense. But if you're talking about having to try to beat a team like Boston specifically, and maybe it's putting the cart before the horse, more than likely they don't even get the opportunity to play Boston in the playoffs. But let's just say they do.
So you're
I'm
predicting
really
Boston
worried.
being a first-round exit? Not even make it to the Eastern Conference Finals to play the Sixers? That's what you're saying?
I'm not even going to humor that. Anyway, my concern right now against a team like Boston is that Nick Batum is their first option for a lot of perimeter assignments, and I think that's a recipe for disaster. Now, to the point that was made earlier, I do think Kelly being this good defensively and locking in the way he has gives you some hope, but it's hard for me to see a rotation right now against Boston where the Celtics don't find wherever the pressure point is. And I'm not saying D'Anthony fixes that by himself, but he would certainly make a difference. And so that would be my biggest concern if he's never able to get back, or if he comes back and we can all see that he's compromised and just doing his best to be out there for the team.
All right, man, as they get ready for this 4-game road trip, we were just talking briefly, and I know we'll talk more tomorrow about this, but good for them to just simply take the 2 here at home as they are jumbled up here with Miami, Indiana, even Orlando, and trying to, as we said, just simply put together some wins, man.
Yeah, look, it's a full game swing because this is a team that you're directly competing with. I believe they have one more against them, and if they win that one, they can at least tie the season series. So you can't win it outright, so you're not going to get a tiebreaker, but that means that you could at least end up in lockstep with them for the season series. So that's another important one on the horizon. Had to win this one to get that. So it wasn't pretty in the fourth quarter for a long part of it, but I would say in terms of end-to-end full game, that was one of their better performances without Joel, just in terms of defensive crispness. I thought the ball moved well. I thought even if they had bad stretches against the zone, that they have had much more talent and failed a lot harder than they did against the zone tonight. So I thought that was probably a good sign and a good reflection on those guys.
All right, man. Well, like I said, Kyle will be back. We'll all be back tomorrow for a 2:30 show, non-game day. We'll be back here tomorrow. So, Kyle, have a good rest of your night. Make sure you go read Kyle's work at allphly.com. Check out the good, the bad, the ugly, the recap right there on allphly.com. Get home safe, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Good night, everybody. Get home safe.
You got it, man. Thanks, Kyle Neubeck. And it'd be nice if Covington could come back, too. He was shooting around. He was on the floor. Both he and Embiid were on the floor over the weekend.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
I mean, I think they're starting to do more non-contact basketball activities, which is step one of a multi-step process to get back on the floor.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance both of them end up coming back before D'Anthony, which is wild considering.
Well, he did come back. He just
for
left
what,
again.
Like 2 games?
3.
3 games?
I think it was 3.
It was Boston, right? When we were at Chegg.
Yeah. Yep.
So every time we go to Chegg, somebody gets hurt. See you guys in 6 days. Stop on by, say hi.
We got another super chat in there. Yeah, that was one of my things from the other day that I didn't get to on Saturday. We had a Marcus Morris moment of the night on Saturday, which was he signed a 10-day contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Devon says that Moot went 4 for 5 from 3 in his debut with the Cavs tonight to help beat the Indiana Pacers.
There you go.
See, another.
He's helping the Sixers even when he's gone.
Out, man. Yep. Marcus Morris moment of the night right there. And then I had a couple of people. Liam said, I'd rather... no, first it wasn't Liam. It was Lockwood.
Yeah.
Says, Devon, put those loafers fully on. We can see your feet. Well, you know,
look, man, you got to let the puppies breathe every now and then.
You know, and
we didn't know that our feet were on air. Just deal with it, all right? Deal with it.
And then I had the right idea. You know, Devon's got the right idea. That's from Philly Insider Podcast. Our good friend. Who was that? It was,
look, the cropping changes when we bring Kyle on.
Yes.
We didn't know. It's okay.
Liam says, I'd rather Devon wear those than the loafers. Look, I like both shoes. They're just comfortable to me. And he asked, are they the Dusty Olive? So I will take my shoe off. And I'll show, yes, my Nike Dunk Low Dusty Olives, yes.
There you go.
And this is my foot that I had the torn Achilles. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the heel of the shoe just rubs against the scar on my Achilles. So I'll take the shoe off or just take my heel out. You know what I'm saying?
Look, he's not going to stop, so deal with it.
It's what it is. Sometimes after walking around the arena, we talk to people, all that stuff, and I'm like, you know what? Taking the shoe off. You would tell them when we're here. Bree would tell you, I take my shoe off. And I put my foot up on the couch.
Yeah.
Just to kind of elevate it and rest it a little bit. So, yes, I take my shoes off at work.
We're going to be a year from now, and Devon will still be taking his shoes off and blaming it on the ACL.
Yes. Oh, Luke says we need a Devon Weekly Kicks segment. Stay tuned. You might get that. Luke, no worries.
Summer content.
Might get that in the summer. Also, we're getting out of here, but also have to give this. Can we start a segment of That's Not It? Because I'm watching Robert Covington and Joel Embiid on the bench, and they're in their street clothes because they're not playing. Fellas, I need to talk to you about your attire. That's not it. That's not it. I love you, but that's not it.
No,
we'll talk about that later. Maybe we'll get to some That's Not It, other segment things. That's not it. We'll certainly try to do some shoe segments there. But, fellas.
I can never, ever, ever criticize anyone in the world for their fashion sense.
Yes,
It'll never, ever happen.
Yes, you can.
Nope.
I'll allow it.
I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. I will not criticize people about their fashion.
I'm big on it, and I got to talk to them about it. All right, man, we got a lot of people to thank as we get out of here. Bree, of course, thank you so much, as always, here producing the show. We got some people we got to thank in the chat and our super chats.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had super chats from Pedro, or at least we'll call him Pedro. Middle name Pedro. Devon,
thank you,
a.k.a.
Pedro.
Schoolboy Beats
Devon,
and Real Time.
And Real Time. We appreciate
all
it.
three of you.
All right. Who gets
Also want to give shout-outs to Steve, Rick Morse, Bob B, Jay of the Jungle, Eugene, Aaron.
What up, Aaron?
There you go. Winona, Luke P, Brandon Downer, Babajide, Al, Rick Morse. I said him already. All right, you get two.
You get two.
Marcus Blackstock, Phil W, Fusion, Calvin, Liam, second round exit.
What up,
fan,
Liam?
Coach Will Ricketts.
Coach!
Nick Nurse's pinky ring.
Wow. Does he wear, yeah, he does wear a pinky ring sometimes. I know he has a nice Rolex, but I'm not going to, that's his business.
He also has a Hublot to it.
I've seen that one too.
Money Mar, please sit down. Eric Schmidt. I'm not going to shout out the OG, but I will shout out Money Mar, please sit down. Martian Lynch, Cannoli,
what
did
up,
the Phillies
Martian?
win? Mark Jackson, Remo K, Rick Morse, Philly Insider Podcast, and Brian Knight.
And I saw Al in the chat.
Oh, what up, Al? I apologize for that. I apologize for that.
Yeah.
See, look, I don't do it like Kyle does it at the end where he just scrolls up and reads every name that he sees. I don't do that because I don't think you should get extra credit for trying to talk at the end. So I try to mix it in there throughout the course of the show, especially when Devon is doing his ad reads. That's when I will scroll through and just start jotting down some names.
Yep.
So if I didn't see you, Al, I apologize profusely about that.
Yep. So everybody, thank you so much. Again, like and subscribe to the show. When you hit that button, you'll get the ring icon or the sounder.
Ring icon?
You get the sounder. We get because I was looking at the icon in here.
What the hell is a ring icon? Can you explain that to me?
Yes, was actually.
No, I know it.
Yeah.
You meant the bell icon.
Gene
I
always
got you.
the bell icon in the chat, and he had 4 of them. Gene is ahead of it. Thank you, man. Philly PHLY diehards, go in there and sign up. Again, check that out. You get the Discord with all the gang here, myself included. I'm there. I just don't do anything. Maybe we'll do so at the Chegg. Yes, Al, we got the ding there. Got that going on. Everybody have a great rest of your night. Bree, thank you. Derek, appreciate it for it. Derek and Kyle, I'm Devon. We'll talk to you tomorrow, 2:30, Tuesday, day off. They hit the road for 4. We'll talk about it tomorrow right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.